Hi guys, Dino here. Since the reception on my first Tekken video was overwhelmingly positive, I'm back again with more Tekken content for you guys. If you're not familiar with the Is the Music Good series, it's fairly simple. I'll be covering the soundtracks, or OSTs, from various video games and franchises to ask the simple question, is the music good? What's good is purely subjective, of course, so in these videos I'll share my opinion and try to offer some insight into why I enjoy certain things about the music and others not so much. Today we're listening to Tekken 2. Let's get started. First things first, Tekken 2 is a Japanese 3D fighting game from the year 1995, while the console version you are probably familiar with released 1 year later. Unlike its predecessor, Tekken 2 does not have soundtracks that are tied to specific in-game locations or stages. Instead, the soundtracks are tied to the characters, although each character has their own specific stage, so I guess it's not far different from the first iteration. What did not change from the first title at all, however, is actually a decent amount of the music itself. There are quite a few tracks from the original game that were reused in the sequel. Actually almost all of them, but we'll get to that soon enough. If you have not seen my video on the first Tekken game, go check it out, top right corner of the video right now. If you want to see me cover the other Tekken game soundtracks, and maybe some other PS1 era classics too, go hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Short disclaimer ahead. In my eyes, there are no objective parameters we can use to rate the quality of a piece of music. For the sake of this video, I'll attempt to provide reasonable explanations for my own judgment, but remember that this is just my opinion. Don't take it too seriously. When analyzing music, it is very helpful to establish the context the music is written for. In the case of a fighting game like Tekken 2, the soundtrack needs to blend well into the background and fit the overall vibe and gameplay of the game. It should also be fitting for the respective character it's written for, but that's less of a priority in my eyes. Also, the rounds you play in fighting games are typically rather short, and so are the soundtracks. We should keep that in mind once we take a closer look at the music. Once again, there are some discrepancies between sources on the credits for Tekken 2's music. The Tekken fandom page once again offers the most detail, so I guess we'll stick with that one. It seems like Yoshie Takayanagi and Yoshie Arakawa are yet again responsible for composition, so I thought I might actually name them this time. It's important to give credit to the people who actually came up with the music. I just hope I'm not discrediting someone else here. In my last video, I mentioned that I was not able to find any footage regarding the creation of Tekken's music. Well, someone actually linked me a few videos that are not exactly what I was looking for, but still provide some interesting information. In this video, they sat down a bunch of people who created the different Tekken soundtracks and asked them some questions. It's not that long, sadly, but there is some interesting insight here. If you are intrigued by that, I'll link the full video in the description so you can check it out after this one. Before we begin, it's important to understand the structure of the game the music is written for. Tekken 2 is a fighting game, so the whole experience is about two parties fighting until one of them is knocked out or the timer runs out. You know, like most actual fighting competitions. As I mentioned earlier, the soundtracks in the game are tied to the characters instead of the stages. We have 23 separately selectable characters, not including alternate skins like Angel or Alex and Roger. So there are 23 themes we'll be listening to, as well as the intro music, the character select theme, etc. As with last time, we'll be discussing the console version of the music, aka the arranged OST, almost exclusively. I will mention the arcade versions of specific tracks whenever they appear to be relevant or simply whenever I might prefer them to their arranged counterparts. Also, I need to mention that there is a good chunk of music in this game we'll be not covering today, and those are the ending OSTs. Each character has a unique ending if you finish the arcade mode with them, and each ending has a different soundtrack, but since they are not an integral part of the gameplay and actually mostly so this video can be finished anytime soon, we'll skip these today. Let's take a listen. Number 1 is Black Winter Night Sky, which is the intro music of Tekken 2. They went out of their way and named all of these tracks, sometimes with obscenely long names too, kinda funny. I'm not gonna lie, I adore this song. It's so good. My god, what a start to a 90s PS1 game. The track accompanies the intro movie insanely well. It changes its ambience with each different shot and just complements them perfectly. By doing that, the music still manages to stand on its own, have enough variety, a solid structure and tension curve. It's just such a joy to listen to. The only complaint I can give is that when I was younger, it always confused me as to where the beat or pulse of the song actually is. That's because the opening riff has its higher, louder notes on the offbeat 16ths, while the lower notes that are easy to perceive as in-between notes are actually on beat. Usually this is not a problem, since you'd have other instruments or sounds that present the rhythmic structure in a more straightforward way, but in this case it takes a few bars of the music until we get the drums, bass and guitars to join the intro melody. If you realize this and pay attention at the start, there shouldn't be much confusion though, so it's really just a small thing. Aside from that, a fantastic piece of music. Damn it, it's such a huge step up from Tekken 1 already, and we've barely started yet. Number 2. Are you ready? This is the character select theme, and the arranged version is quite long, almost 2 minutes to be precise. I have a good amount of nostalgia for this one, and I think it still holds up today. It doesn't have the energetic, slightly anxiety-inducing vibe of the Tekken 1 character select music, but it is a bit calmer instead. It has somewhat of a bittersweet feeling to it. I kinda struggle to put it into words properly. It fits really well with the overall vibe I get from Tekken 2 as a game. To me it is dark, slightly melancholic, with the whole Kazuya devil plot and a very imposing final stage. Generally, Tekken 2 has a lot more of a clear direction going on, which I just noticed while listening to this and writing this part of the script. I never really paid much attention to that, but I guess it was always part of the appeal this game had for me. Anyway, good track, I like it a lot. Number 3. A Man of Artificiality. This is Jak 2's theme, and if you wonder why this is the first one, well, I had to come up with an order for these, so I looked up the Tekken 2 OST music volume releases and their orders, and I'm gonna follow those from now on. It's a nice order. Yeah, so you can really hear that this is Jak's track. It's very industrial. Like, there are a ton of industrial machinery sounds all over the track, it's almost too much in some spots, but overall it works out decently. Aside from that, so this one doesn't offer anything that really convinces me musically. During the A section, we have a steady drum beat underneath the noises and some slow synth melodies to round things off. I really don't mind listening to this for research purposes, but that's as far as it goes. It's alright and all, but there's nothing here I'd want to come back for another listen. A bit uninteresting, so I think I'd rather pass. Number 4. As Bald As. No, really, that's the name they chose, I'm not kidding. This is Heihachi's track, and unlike the name, this is a rather subtle one. We have a steady groove with the bass and drums. There are some sounds happening in the background. Occasionally there is a synth melody playing some pentatonic lines, so it sounds, you know, Asian and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, this one is also not that convincing. It's surely alright as background music for a fighting game, but I just don't enjoy listening to this on its own. Also, I find it a bit hard to connect this to Heihachi and his brutal and unforgiving character. On top of that, when I look at the stage you fight him at, I would have expected something darker. I don't know, there's nothing catching me here. On to the next one. Number 5. Made of Stone, Prototype Jak. This is just Windermere, guys. From Tekken 1. Remember Windermere? If you haven't seen the first one, go check it out, top right corner of the video right now. I went into more detail there, but to summarize it briefly, I like this one a lot. It has a nice, dark vibe, the saxophone lays out some great melodies, overall a very strong track. Not sure why they chose P.JACK as the corresponding character for this tune, or why they paired the music or the character with London ruins, but hey, the music is bomb. Number 6. Rhythm of China, Wang Jinrei's track. Okay, you really start to notice how many songs they've recycled now. This one's also from Tekken 1 and it's called Sichuan. The stage is also called Sichuan Fields, so almost the same as before. Long story short, I'm not a big fan. A lot going on in this one, but none of it drives it home for me. I also don't think it fits Wang's design too well. He looks like an old and seasoned fighter who strikes with precision and no unnecessary movement. This track sounds a bit like the opposite to me. I'd rather skip this one. Number 7, Eastern Dance. This one's for Baek Do-san and his Korean temple stage. Now we have a Tekken 2 original again. I'm not all too glad about that, frankly, since I really don't know what to do with this tune. It has a lot of drumming happening, and while I don't mind the constant rolling on the lower drums, some of the cymbal sounds are driving me crazy after about 20 seconds. Is this really how I should expect a Korean temple to sound? Maybe during some ceremonial event, I don't know. There are some melodies accompanying the drums, and some very questionable squeaking sounds along with them. It's a bit of a shame. I really like Baek's design, and I've trained Taekwondo as a kid for a couple of years, so I'm suddenly biased towards Taekwondo fighters and games. I really like the aesthetic of the sport. They can move so acrobatically, it's very pleasing to the eye, but this music just doesn't fit anywhere for anyone really. Not a fan. Let's just move on to the next one. Number 8, and this is the one you've been waiting for, haven't you? Yeah, so this is Fiji, of course, another Tekken 1 tune, and I teased this one in my last video because of the characters. You probably know this already, but secret characters in fighting games were a very important part of the game appeal back then. You know, when you couldn't just Google everything and were left at the mercy of the game developers dropping you hints, or your friends who'd make rather questionable claims, like that they had found Ermac in MK1 or some other stupid shenanigans. Good times. Tekken was never big on secret characters like other franchises, sadly, but in Tekken 2 they did include some, at least. It was these guys. Aren't they cute? It wasn't exactly easy to unlock these. You had to get a great on the third fight in arcade mode and then beat Alex or Roger, and obviously the game would give you no instructions that this is what's required to unlock them. I remember that when we were playing this as kids, we'd always end up unlocking Alex and Roger unintentionally. It just kinda happened after playing the game for long enough. I guess that might be a cool way to design those things, even though I wish we had something on par with the early Mortal Kombat releases. Pikaspray Yellow has great videos on the secret characters in those MK games, definitely worth a watch. Back to the music. I covered Fiji in the first video obviously, and to summarize again, I enjoy it. It's simply fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, offers some contrast to most of the other tracks, and in this game especially it fits very well with these rather comical secret characters, so they put it to good use here. I like it. Number 9. March to the Columns, Kuma's OST. This is, yet again, a Tekken 1 tune called Acropolis. In short, it's decent but nothing too fancy. A rather calm track with a steady groove and solid energy. I gotta say, I feel like this track is slowly growing on me. It's not that spectacular, but I enjoyed it more than some of the other tracks I didn't like, so I don't know, kinda torn on this one. Using this music for the Hills stage does seem odd though. I would have expected a darker stage. Anyway, let's say Acropolis or March to the Columns is about in the middle for me. Next one. Number 10. Two Different Sides. This track goes to martial law and it continues the trend of the last one. It's easy to listen to, there's nothing in there that's annoying or confusing, but also nothing catchy or somehow else convincing. We have a steady drum groove leading us, some synths playing above that offers some variety and a faster movement, some very minimal funky guitars on the left side, some kind of bubbly sound on the right. It creates a nice combination of sounds, but I'm left desiring something else, something to make this really stand out or move me in any way. This track just doesn't manage to do that. Also, I'm not sure if I like the pairing with Law. I don't have a profound explanation, I just don't see how it's a great fit. Law doesn't seem like the relaxed, chill type in his fights. I could imagine one of the Jack characters working better in this instance, at least in my mind. What do you think? Do you like this pairing? If yes, why? Feel free to leave a comment, your opinion is as valuable as mine. Number 11, Almost Frozen, Anna's OST. And before you ask, yes, this is another Tekken 1 soundtrack. It's called King George Islands, and I absolutely adore this one. Great atmosphere, offers something completely different than the rest of Tekken 1's catalog, all in all just great to listen to. Oh, and did I ask you to watch the first one already? Placing this in front of the Taj Mahal background does feel odd, but I suppose they didn't just want to recycle the stage aesthetics. I'm not particularly sure about the pairing with Anna. I mean, she's an assassin, so pairing her with a track for a cold, snowy stage is alright, I suppose. Honestly, I'm just glad this one made it into the second game. It would have been a waste not including it, and the pairing could have been worse, certainly, so I'll take it any day of the week. Good stuff. Number 12, Ancient Temple CBD for Kunimitsu. You know what's funny? Not only is this yet another Tekken 1 tune, Angkor Wat was also number 12 in the first video. I swear this was not intentional, but I'll gladly take that. You know, every time I listen to Angkor Wat, or, well, Ancient Temple CBD, I start to think, man, this opening melody is so catchy, what a banger track. But then I get to a different section of the music, and it just goes into a completely different direction. I have to say though, considering that this is Kuni's track, I can get behind that vibe a lot more. These stark contrasts in one single track seem a lot more fitting to her character than to some green, day-like background. And there's only like 1 or 2 sections in here I don't really enjoy, so I would say I'm undecided on this one too. A bit like Acropolis. I wouldn't put it on for casual listening, but for what it's intended to do, serve as background music when you fight this mysterious, deadly ninja character, it works well. I don't like the stage though. Like Kuni and this soundtrack of a Cambodian wetlands? I don't know, man. Number 13, Nobody Catch Me, Michelle Chang. My god, this track is fantastic. I put this one on and I just started grooving along with my entire body. This is what I mean when I want a song to affect me. Nobody Catch Me just gets me going. I don't need to analyze the music first and look for things that I can complement. I mean, I can do that, and I will, but the fact that I wouldn't need to speaks volumes. As with most tracks, the instrumentation is basically drums, bass, and some synth melodies, while a keyboard plays chords through most of this. The beat section also features a much louder bass, which includes some slapping too. What's so good in this track is the groove. The rhythm that is laid out by the keyboard at the very beginning has so much drive, it just wants to go on and never stop. The melody in the A section is catchy and builds up towards a nice little climax. It also never overstays its welcome, appearing for a short time, creating more energy and then disappearing again to let things cool off. The B section is a bit more aggressive, it offers a different energy, takes you into a new direction before you have time to get bored. It offers contrasting ideas that still manage to complement the A section greatly, while also leading back into it nicely. Harmonically, there's quite a bit going on in this one, and I'd love to take a closer look at the chords at some point, but today is not the day for detailed harmonic analysis. Maybe I'll leave that for a livestream later down the road. Would you be interested in watching that? Tell me in the comments. Honestly, aside the intro movie, this might be my favorite so far. There's so much to praise here, so much that my ears enjoy. I guess it's not really that representative of Michelle's motive of participating in a tournament which is to save her mother whom Kazuya kidnapped to steal Michelle's amulet, but from how I perceive Michelle as a character and fighter, I kind of like the pairing. I don't know, it feels right, I guess. It doesn't sound like the Arizona desert though, but that's okay, it's so good that it doesn't matter. Amazing track either way, let's hope for more like this one. Number 14 is another new track called Morning Field, and is the music of Jun Kazama, one of the brand new characters in this game. Looking at the recent trailer for Jun's return to the franchise in Tekken 8, I'm guessing that this track might be very popular among many of you, and I'd understand. This piece starts off very relaxed, honestly the title really hits the nail on its head. We have a few piano chords, a basic drumming pattern, and as is to be expected with Tekken OSTs by now, some mostly pentatonic melodies with varying synth sounds. By the way, I keep saying synth sounds because I don't really know what else to call these. Someone that's more familiar with creating music like this might be able to specify, however I certainly cannot. I find it difficult to explain its vibe more thoroughly. The track has a bit of a bouncy feel to it, I guess. Even though there is a certain density to be found here, it always retains this calming aspect to it. I definitely do associate this with nature in some way. At first I was a bit torn on this one, because I can see what they were going for with this tune, and I believe this is a very well selected pairing for June. But when it comes down to the music itself, I didn't think there was enough for me to come back to it. However, I did give it a couple more listens to describe the music more thoroughly, and somehow the ambience of the track, the main melody that keeps returning, and a few chord changes that do add a bit of unexpected tension to the music definitely caught on. Now I enjoyed a lot more than I had originally anticipated. I do have to say that, although the track is called Morningfield, and that's exactly what we get as a stage background, the music sounds more like a deep forest with flourishing wildlife to me. It's just a minor complaint, the visuals still match the music nicely. Morningfield is really well made in my opinion. Number 15, Silent Assassin. This one's for Nina, and it's quite good. Silent Assassin shows how much variety the game's OST has compared to the first one. We have more instrumentation here. Drums and bass as usual, but also piano grooving along and playing chords, a funky guitar that joins in too. The melodic elements are being thrown around by a brass section, synths, and what sounds like a marimba, or something similar, I don't know. None of that sounds out of place or like it's too much. It creates a good mix with a lot of varying sounds. It's not one of my favorites in here, but it does the job well, and whenever this track comes up, I don't mind listening to it. In fact, I enjoy it a bit. As far as the pairing goes, I guess it's alright, even though I would have expected something more evil sounding for Nina, although it certainly works. The stage doesn't match the music at all in my eyes. Silent Assassin doesn't resemble anything close to the Greek landscape of Athens, and I don't see any connection to Nina either. But hey, the music is pretty decent. Number 16, the Headshaker. Yoshi's track, and a pretty unique one at that. It opens with a variety of sounds that, to summarize, resemble something ancient and possibly Japanese, so a perfect fit for our ninja friends here. Once the drums kick off, the track really amps it up. It has a lot of energy and there is quite a bit going on. I feel like the thing is kind of tied together by the monk-like voice singing over all the other sounds. There is a section where the voice disappears and it gets slightly calmer, but it's still pretty dense compared to some of the other tracks. At one point, there is a synth sound on the right side that stays on a single note for quite long, and when I heard it for the first time, I thought this track was gonna turn into a Eurobeat song for a moment. Luckily that didn't happen, but it still throws me off whenever it appears. I do feel a bit overwhelmed when I listen to this, but in the context of this game, Yoshimitsu as a creepy looking half-cyborg ninja or whatever he's supposed to be in Tekken 2, and his stage, Serene Forest, it all adds up. This is a good one. Number 17, It Makes Me Higher, aka Chicago from Tekken 1. This one is for Lee and it fits pretty well in my book. I view him as an eccentric, energetic fighter with a high self-regard, and the music does sell me on that concept. Not sure why they gave him a stage with a launch pad in the background. I would have imagined some busy town at night with a flashy skyline in the background. Something like Lace Stage maybe, but whatever. I like Chicago, definitely one of the strongest songs from the first game. And well, you know the drill by now. Number 18, Paul's Miracle Deathfist. This might be the only track so far that actually contains a character's name. I mean, Heihachi's one was also very telling, but this one is a bit less subtle. The music, on the other hand, doesn't really sound like death nor fist to me. I do like it for the New York City stage though. It's a medium-tempo funk tune, and I don't really see why they chose this for Paul of all people. I can definitely sense the nostalgia when listening to it, and because of that, I do associate it with Paul, but if I try to ignore that, I don't really see any connection. Like maybe you could argue that he deems himself so strong that he fights in a very relaxed, carefree manner, but that doesn't really sell me on the pairing. The music is fairly good on its own. It's funky, obviously, has nice instrumentation with guitars, brass instruments, some nice additional percussion, and what I believe to be a clarinet? I'm not sure, I've never been that good at recognizing wind instruments. It has a nice vibe, but there is nothing really too memorable for me. It lacks something that stands out and forces its way into my brain, making me long for more. Sadly, this doesn't happen here. Number 19. And what the fuck is that song title? You think I'm gonna read that out loud, Harada? You are wrong. On top of that, this is Ganryu's track. Like, what is the title supposed to tell me about the character? That he's fat? Come on. By the way, this is Kyoto from Tekken 1, and while okay to listen to, it's just not my cup of tea. But does the actual music fit Ganryu? In a sense, I guess it does. He's a sumo wrestler, so having something that sounds somewhat Japanese does make sense, but it's not like I get any strong sumo vibes from the music directly. Overall it's okay, but nothing too fancy. The stage is beautiful though. Number 20. Quiet Interim Report. So whenever you play arcade mode in Tekken 2, the 8th out of the 10 encounters will be against the sub-boss of whichever character you chose. If you beat the arcade mode, you unlock that sub-boss, in most cases anyway. This is the music that plays during that encounter. Back to basics, drums, bass, synths playing melodies. This track is very atmospheric, almost like you're swimming underwater. Everything feels a bit blurry. The melodies of the synth and the one voice create a bit of an uneasy feeling, like you know that something is not quite right, that you might be in danger. It's not a constant thing though, it almost seamlessly fades into the music and back out of it. Also, the different sections don't move away from each other too much, musically speaking, but they still create a good sense of variety, so the tension can build up and resolve back down nicely. I enjoy this one. I like it as background music while writing this very sentence. Pretty cool tune. Number 21. The Place 1997. Lei Wulong. This one goes pretty hard. The track is very energetic, has a faster tempo, and aside of our regular participants such as drums, bass and synths, we also have something that sounds like the Guitar Pro 5 realistic sound engine soundbanks. Very nostalgic for me, albeit for the wrong reasons. This track definitely lives off of its speed and energy. The melodic material is not necessarily something that stands out to me, but the fast pace and the rhythmic elements just get me going. Also, the one riff at the very beginning of the track is so good. I really wish it would appear more often, but the track overall still does the job nicely. I also like the pairing with Lei. It complements his rather chaotic style with unexpected, fast and sometimes very flashy movements. Hong Kong Rooftop also blends in nicely. I can definitely imagine him chasing some criminal up there for an intense showdown. Good stuff. Alright, this is actually the one everyone's been waiting for, me included. Number 22. Emotionless Passion. Kazuya Mishima. I don't know where to start, maybe the main melody. It's insanely catchy. It also perfectly encompasses this dark and slightly melancholic, almost bittersweet vibe that I mentioned earlier. Kazuya is the main man of the franchise at this point, embodying both the penultimate encounter as well as the final boss in the game. His struggle to keep his newfound power of the Mishima Zaibatsu, as well as the struggle with the devil, every depiction of him from the very intro of the game all the way to his ending. I can hear all of that when I listen to Emotionless Passion, and the melody is a big contributor. Another big strength of this tune is the build-up. It certainly takes its time to breathe and make you curious. It works so well that every time I hear it, I can feel the anticipation growing, even though I know exactly what's about to come. Harmonically, there's nothing groundbreaking, but you can definitely find some interesting movements if you look for them. In terms of instrumentation, there is nothing too crazy here, everything very typical and in line for a Tekken soundtrack. However, I need to mention the bass in this one, which sometimes sounds like a tuba, but I believe that's just because the timbre they chose for the bass here is similar. The The little movements into the high register it makes while the main theme is present really add a lot to the music's personality. Additionally, we have a quick cameo of some stringed instruments right after the main melody finishes, creating a short little bridge into the next section. Its appearance is quick and short-lived, but I liked it so much to mention it regardless. Man, this track is something else. Number 23, Hit Out for Bruce Irvin. It's Marine Stadium from Tekken 1, which longtime fans of this channel will know I enjoy. This time we're not at an actual stadium, but at the Grand Canyon instead. Bit of a drastic change, but hey, Bruce looks cool with his background, so let's not get too picky. The pairing of Hit Out with Bruce seems a bit odd, but honestly I don't care too much, since I really like this track. Number 24. Here is the point of no return. Armor King. Tekken 1, Monument Valley. In short, I really enjoy this piece of music. In my first video I mentioned how it is really unique compared to the other OSTs. Its slow and eerie atmosphere are unmatched even in the vastly more diverse soundtrack of Tekken 2. I also enjoy the pairing with Armor King. He has a much creepier look than regular King. Since the kings never really speak and instead just roar, they appear even less human to me, which only adds to the uncanniness of Armor King's design. The empty background of the stage Nowhere Desert is the cherry on top here, it works so well in this context. Honestly, along with Kazuya's Emotionless Passion, this might be my favorite character stage music pairing in this game. Of course, we also have to talk about the original King. Luckily, number 25 is Ring a Bell, and this track might take the cake for best intro to an OST. It sets itself apart from most of the other tunes, and it does so right off the bat. The intro is slow, but there is already a lot of tension that you can feel building up. The melody moves slowly, but it manages to hit just the right notes and timing to create this dark, intense feeling. The bell in the background makes the sound even more dramatic, which is carried forward when the track picks up the pace. It's not overly energetic or hype-inducing like some other tracks, but it has a high amount of what I like to call drive. It evokes the need to move, to keep going forward, and I love getting that feeling from a piece of music. In terms of pairing, it just feels completely right. In Tekken 2, King's orphanage is running low on money. In his desperation, he turns to alcohol abuse, but eventually gets back on his feet and enters the tournament in hopes of saving the orphanage. His story background, paired with his stage in the game, Church Sanctuary, is a perfect match for this soundtrack. It's one of the few tracks on here where I wish it was longer, especially the outro part. Amazing music, easily one of my favorites. Number 26, and the last character OST for today, Be in the Mirror. This one belongs to Devil, or Angel if you choose the alternate costume. Be in the Mirror is a prime example of how an arrangement of an already existing piece of music can turn into something new that stands on its own without the need for comparison. It takes the main melody from Kazuya's Emotionless Passion, but it's played at a much slower tempo. The instrumentation is much thinner. At first there's only a piano comping the melody, until a very basic drum groove joins in later. We have a few synth notes just ringing forever over the melody, further enhancing this trance-inducing vibe of the song, and a few windy sound effects to top it off. During the B section we get a bit more movement from the synths, while the main melody in the center takes a backseat. Another case of, why is this not longer? And why does the A section not reappear after the B section? Of course you can find extended versions on YouTube, but I wish the original would go on longer, considering we do have tracks in this very game that already exceed the 4-minute mark. A bit of a shame, but that only goes to show how beautiful this piece is. It just complements the Kazuya-Devil relationship as well as the overall vibe of Tekken 2 so well. Great OST. Number 27, Go Go Go. This music is the music for the VS result. This tune is a bit weird. It has a lot going on, and the different sections of the song change very abruptly and almost a bit too harshly in my opinion. Some of them don't really do it for me, so I'm glad whenever they don't overstay their welcome. But for other parts that I do like, it feels like they are over before they even started properly. You can actually hear parts, or at least melodies, that were taken straight from other tracks like Fiji or Chicago. I don't really know what to focus on here, since there are so many things happening, but they all appear for about 5 seconds each until they're interrupted by whatever comes next. Overall, I can't say I enjoy listening to this that much. I'd rather pass on this one. We're closing in on this, and number 28 is called Your Fascinating Wave, which is the result music, meaning this is what you hear once you see your, well, score, I guess, after beating the game. It's essentially the name entry music from Tekken 1, but it's rearranged a bit, so not 100% the same. It sounds a bit better, higher quality, more polished, but overall the same musical content mostly. I'd still say that I wouldn't listen to this on its own, so it gets a no from me. We have arrived at the final OST for today. Number 29, Landscape Under the Ghost. This is the credits music. It's surprisingly well made in my opinion. The opening is very thin, we have a female voice singing, which is sometimes harmonized, while a different female voice is mumbling things in the background. And then the rest of the arrangement slowly crawls into the soundscape and gradually builds up the density of the music. As the track goes on, it shifts into a bit of a darker vibe. We get an organ sound with choir-like singing, but only for a brief moment. The track's tension peaks for a second, only to suddenly collapse into itself, merely repeating the opening vocal line one single time to send us off. Honestly, I didn't expect this much for the credits. It's a pretty cool track, and while the payoff for the long build-up seems a bit short-lived, it's still a nice OST to round off a playthrough of Tekken 2, as well as round off the long list of OSTs we've listened to today. Before we conclude today's OST review, I do want to take a minute to talk about the arcade versions of these tracks. I know I've said at the beginning that I'd only mention them at points where they are relevant for comparison, but I figured I'd rather mention them at the end instead. The arcade versions, which are technically the originals, I suppose, are mostly the same as their arranged counterparts. They are lower in quality, of course, and sometimes there is a change in arrangements, instrumentation, structure, etc. Also, only 12 of the characters got tracks in the arcade version. There were none for the sub-bosses yet, which of course are also just Tekken 1 tunes in the arranged version, so it doesn't really matter. I would argue that most of these benefit heavily from the transition to the arranged versions, since it seems like a lot of the musical ideas were held back by the limitations of the arcade version. This does vary between tracks though, but overall I don't see any reason to listen to any of the arcade versions, since if you like one of the tracks, chances are you will enjoy the arranged version more. Except if you have a crazy amount of nostalgia maybe. I think it's important to mention this, since I'm pretty sure that this is not necessarily the case in Tekken 3, where there are stronger differences between the versions. But we will get to that soon enough. The Tekken 3 video is coming obviously, so don't forget to subscribe. So let's get to the verdict. Is the music in Tekken 2 good? My immediate answer is yes, absolutely. While it is pretty good in isolation, it's hard not to compare this game's music to the first installment, so I won't even try to do it. We have a clear step up from Tekken 1. I mean, almost all the tracks from the first one are present here anyway, so there's only more music to enjoy, and I do enjoy a lot of it. From the new tracks, I'd name Black Winter Night Sky, Nobody Catch Me, Emotionless Passion and Ring a Bell as my absolute favorites. Soundtracks that sometimes come to my mind randomly, that I seek out even when I'm not even playing a Tekken game or making videos. Absolute bangers, to put it academically. Some of them are pretty good and I'd probably use them as background music for gaming or streaming, but I don't really get an urge to listen to one of them specifically. And tracks like Morning Field or Landscape Under the Ghost, A couple of them are okay, and I might not skip them when they come up, but they probably wouldn't appear in any of my playlists. There is so much good music out there, and I just want a song to offer something that really touches me in some way, be it in a deep, sophisticated way or just being a lot of silly fun. But something has to be there, and sometimes I just can't hear any of that. Overall, Tekken 2's OST offers a lot more variety between the individual pieces than its predecessor. I would also argue that some of them are more carefully crafted to better resemble the characters they're composed for, barring some exceptions. It feels like they went into this project with a lot of great ideas and the intention to create something that stands out. I wouldn't say that it's a criminally underrated soundtrack. The fans of this franchise know about the gems that can be found here, and I don't think this is my favorite Tekken OST either. But some of the fine pieces on here definitely deserve all the recognition and praise they get. I'm very happy to have taken a much closer look, since I didn't know about a few of the tracks I like, but I certainly found a couple more of them, and to be honest, I didn't really expect that. It would be interesting to put this in a general context and compare it to other franchises' OSTs, at least in the context of other fighting game franchises of that time. However, that is a topic for another day. If you're still watching at this point, thank you so much. What do you think about Tekken 2? Do you like the music? Feel free to share your opinion in the comments, I'm always down to discuss some Tekken music. If you want to check out my favorite songs from this game, I've created a Spotify playlist, link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it helps me grow the channel immensely. Thanks for watching, I'll see you soon. Take care.